Well, good evening and welcome to the last tackle. Hopefully you've got your breath back. What a weekend it was. Easter weekend, of course, always big in the rugby league calendar, but we're ready to do it all over again here on the last tackle. Alongside me this week, a bona fide legend of the game, Adrian Morley. Moz, thank you for joining us. We'll go through the games kind of bit by bit in a minute, but how good was Easter weekend?
Absolutely fantastic. It very rarely lets us down at the Easter weekend with the derbies and rivals rounded, but in particular the Wigan and St Helens game, I thought that's been the best game of the Super League campaign so far. It was everything you want from rugby league. It was tough. It was brutal at times. Very low scoring game, but made it no less compelling and watchable, and I thought it was a fantastic advert for our sport, and really enjoyed that one in particular. But all the games were great, and we'll go into details of them all, but I was very pleased at the games.
Obviously Easter looks a little bit different to what it used to. No Monday games these days. As much as people like me will miss those, it does feel like the squads were a little bit less diluted this time around. Coaches weren't having to kind of hedge their bets with 2 games in 4 days. We seem to see kind of full strength squads pretty much across the board.
Yeah, it was great for the spectator, you're right. But if you're involved either as a player or a coach, it was a bit of a nightmare the Easter weekend, to be honest. And it's very hard to play elite sport, particularly rugby league, and to back it up from Friday to Monday. It's it's brutal on the players. So they've got rid of that, and that's hopefully there for the players' welfare. I think it's there for the long term. It's the Easter Monday fixtures gone, but as you're right, it made the Good Friday and Easter Thursday and Saturday games that much more explosive, and really was some brutal encounters, and I thought it was fantastic. Ticked all the boxes.
And the attendances, crowds have been pretty strong across the board all season, but especially at the weekend, people seem to be really kind of buying into the Betfred Super League at the moment.
Yeah, and so they should. Yeah, I think it's been really encouraging all year. Really, people questioned if every game's going to be on Sky, would that have an effect on the attendances at live games? And we can see now it's not really. It's been great, and been a couple of games sold out, and the World Cup Challenge was fantastic spectacle and great attendance there. So I think it's been a fantastic Super League season so far, and there's still many more twists and turns to come.
We'll roll it back to Thursday night. It all kicked off Leeds versus Castleford. In the end, pretty comfortable from a Leeds perspective. You've been on the show a couple of times where we've said we're not really sure where Leeds are at yet. Are we starting to get a clearer picture?
A little bit, yeah. I think when they do get it right, they're fantastic. We've argued over the last couple of years it's their consistency what's let them down. But as I say, when they do get it right, they beat Catalans at home this year, and they look very strong. I thought Castleford, to be fair, in the first half was the best they've looked all year, even though they didn't score, but they were threatening the Leeds line, and they're just lacking probably a couple of strike players. But I thought they was pretty good. Second half, it was all Leeds really. But if you're a Castleford fan, you could see it's not all doom and gloom. There is a few signs of improvement there. But I thought it was a good game. Particularly the first half. There was nothing in it. Big local derby, and it was great to watch.
It always felt with Cas, didn't it? The first 3-4 months of the season were going to be especially tough. A new head coach, a big change in personnel in terms of the players. Pre-season's one thing, but it was probably always going to take them a few weeks to kind of get used to each other and really kind of get themselves on the front foot. Yeah,
definitely. Any team will always have a bit of baggage with a new coach and new players, and Castleford, are in that boat. But as I say, I thought it was really encouraging signs that first half. They still need to build on that, and get a few more connections going and that kind of thing. But I thought they did all right. The effort was great, and rugby league, forget about how talented the players are. If you get the lads all putting 100% effort in, you can't ask for much more than that. And I thought the effort was fantastic there. And as I mentioned before, probably lacking just a bit more quality in attack. But let's see how they go. And with another few weeks and months playing with each other, we'll see if they can get that elusive win.
At Friday lunchtime, first time in a long time, we've got into a whole derby with Hull KR probably as such firm favourites, and obviously they went on to live up to that hype. Where do Hull FC put this right? It does seem like a long way back for them at this point.
It does. It's really worrying for Hull FC if you're part of that club or if you're a Hull FC fan. It's a really tough one. I know they have got a couple of injuries, but even with them players back, I can't see them challenging or competing, for the playoffs. It's just tough for them, and I think they do need to get a few new blood in the playing ranks, and people are as they do when it's a results-driven sport, calling for Tony Smith's head. But I think that's the wrong move. I think Tony Smith's the right guy to lead them out of this issue and this lack of form. If they were looking at a coach elsewhere, Tony Smith would be perfect, but he just needs to get a grip. They need to give him a bit more time, I think. As I say, a couple of signings, and having played under Tony, I know he's a fantastic coach and he's great at this type of stuff, getting teams from who are underachievers to achieving high. So it is a worry, and you're right. You very rarely go into a Leeds, a Hull FC, Hull KR derby, knowing there's only going to be one winner, and unfortunately that was the case. But Hull KR are going well. Let's be fair, they are one of the stronger teams. So against anyone, they argue at home, they would have been favourites anyway. But it's not looking good for Hull FC.
Yeah, from a Rovers perspective, obviously coming to this season, backing up from a playoff year last time around, but started well in the first game against Hull FC, and then that Challenge Cup win against Salford and the result on Friday, they seem to almost be going through the gears again. Yeah,
they do. I mean, if you're a Salford fan, it was a bit of a blip on Salford's copybook because Salford were going particularly well, and to put 40 past Salford was a massive achievement. It was the cup, so Super League got put to one side. But I think it's great. They did very, very well last year, finishing in the playoffs, making a Challenge Cup final. And you're right, that's probably given them a bit of confidence and a bit of a boost for this year. And they're just going about the business. It's a very, very tough place to go to. It's Hull KR, so they'll win more often than not at home. And it looks like they've got their away form pretty good as well. So they'll be up there definitely.
Well, whilst that game was always tipped up to be a little bit one-sided, St Helens versus Wigan at 3 o'clock on Good Friday, very much the opposite. It had all the ingredients for classic. That's exactly what we got. Let's take a look inside that famous old rivalry in the second episode of Noisy Neighbours.
The people know Wigan and they know St Helens for one thing, and that is they are rugby league towns.
It's the most important day of the year.
Anybody who enjoys sport in the UK will know that on Good Friday, if you turn your TV on at 3 p.m, you will see St Helens versus Wigan.
Just the intensity of these two teams is unmatched with anybody else.
As you say, it's massive, it's huge. It's the biggest game in British Rugby League for me.
They're pretty special, they're pretty special. The Saints Wigan derby, whether it's at home or whether it was away, it was always one that just got you excited.
You have to win it. It doesn't. Nothing else matters. Don't matter how successful you are. If you don't win that, it's not the same if you don't win that day.
When you look at St Helens as a town, it's famous for two things: glass and rugby league.
You've got two bona fide, rugby towns, but particularly in the recent times in Super League, you had two genuine powerhouse clubs.
Their season doesn't hinge on the result on Good Friday, but it makes their supporters happy for the next 6 months.
Now we'll meet up with friends from Wigan beforehand, and we'll meet up with them afterwards. You just want to be on the right side of things. You have to park it after a bit if you want to enjoy the rest of your day, win or lose. But to have that little smug smile on your face as you meet up afterwards, that's the feeling you want.
Good Friday atmosphere is, it's always a little bit extra, a little bit special, and really enjoyable to play in. It's one that sort of you ring at the start of the season of knowing you've got Wigan on Good Friday. Brilliant to play in and great to be a part of. To get the win as well, even more special.
So yeah, Moz, Saints getting the win in the end in that one, but up until really the red card, it could have gone either way. It was on a knife edge, and that was proper Good Friday Rugby League, wasn't it?
It was. This fixture very rarely disappoints, and this weekend was no different. It was absolutely brilliant. Fantastic crowd, and there was a lot of Wigan fans in the crowd as well. You could hear the cheering. Just watching it on TV, it was absolutely fantastic. Everything you want from a rugby league game had it. Brutal, low score. I mean, don't get me wrong. We love to see great tries, but when you get a game that's that close and that intense, sometimes you don't get high scores. But it's fantastic to watch. Also, I thought the two front rows from St Helens, Walmsley and Matty Lees were absolutely outstanding. All the forwards played the part, but them two in particular were standouts for me. And it's one of them games where you're watching it and then next minute, 60 minutes, you think, wow, how's the game gone so quick? Because it was that enjoyable, that intense. It was brilliant.
It seems almost heightened at the moment because there's so much local connection in those teams. Probably 6 or 7 Wigan Saints-based players in either side. It just seemed, it felt. I was there on Friday, and it felt like the kind of atmosphere from the stands really did transfer into the players.
Yeah, no, fully agree there, and I just thought it was everything about it. The build-up, and let's be fair, going into this round, Saints and Wigan were the two best sides in Super League, the two form teams, and it was a flip of a coin who actually got the win, and it was St Helens this time, and Wigan have been going particularly well, but St Helens a bit of a reminder there, that they've been fantastic for the last four or 5 years. So I thought it was great, and it really did live up to the expectation. And I can't wait for the next fixture, really.
Yeah, I'd be obviously a long way to go. I'd be very surprised if one of the finals, at least this year, wasn't Saints versus Wigan. They do seem to be just a notch above the rest of the league at the moment.
Yeah, they do. And if you look at Saints' record over the last. They won it 4 years before Wigan winning it last year. So the two best sides and two best squads, probably the two best supported teams in the Super League. So great for the North West, but it's up to the other teams to hopefully try and catch them. Catalans have been up there last couple of years. Warrington have threatened a little bit, but probably not quite there yet. But them two, I agree with you, Lewis. I think they'll be up there at the end of the season.
Moving into Saturday's games, Warrington against Catalans. Well, obviously, that was the first game of the season over in the south of France. Halliwell Jones this time, the same result. We spoke about not quite knowing where Leeds are at the moment. Warrington have made some real progress under Sam Burgess, but there still are a few question marks.
They are, and I still think there's a bit of a hangover from last year and the year before. It's very hard to go from a struggling team to contenders overnight. But apart from the Catalans, loss of the first game of the season, which they competed well, by the way, they've had some great wins. This game, I watched it, and they just let Catalans get away to too good a start. You blinked, 15 minutes gone, it was 18-0 to Catalans, and it just left them a little bit too much to do. They did come back. They showed plenty of heart and determination, and they could have actually sneaked this victory as well. However, it was just too much of a start and too little too late. But I still think there's a lot more improvement from Warrington. Sam's only had his hands on them for 6 months or so I think they will improve, but probably not just quite there at the minute.
What I really like about Warrington in these first few months of the season, obviously a lot of talk, a lot of eyebrows raised when Sam Burgess was announced during last season. A lot of kind of hype around him when he came over, but for all of that noise, he's kind of very quietly gone about his business. He's not spoken a huge amount. He's obviously done his media, but he's gone under the radar more than I thought he would, whilst his team have just kind of kicked on nicely.
Yeah, well, that's a great trait to have as a coach. It's about the team, the players. It's not about him. As much of a superstar as he was as a player. he's got a different role to do now. And when you speak to the players, because he's only finished playing a few years ago, he knows what the players want and need, and he's a young British coach, and I think they really have took to him really. And even though you could argue they've had a couple of losses, I think they have had a massive improvement from last year. Still think there's a bit more in the tank. I think there's a bit more grit about them this year. There's a lot more steel in defence, and with a few more sessions and weeks and months under Sam, I think they'll do well. I think they'll finish in the playoffs, still in the Challenge Cup, so they've got a chance of a bit of silverware here and there. And
also on Saturday, Salford back in the winning circle against Lee. I know a few Salford fans that were a little bit concerned after losing to Wigan in bizarre circumstances really at the end of that game, and then we mentioned that heavy defeat to Hull KR in the Cup. I think a few Salford fans were a little bit nervous that things were kind of on the downward, but Paul Rowley just finds a way, doesn't he, with this team?
He does. After a heavy loss like that Hull KR 40-0, it really can affect your confidence, but they are back on the horse, they are back to winning ways. I went to the game and I thought the scoreline probably flattered Lee a little bit. I thought Salford were always in control, scored some great tries. I want to mention Ryan Brierley. He played his 300th game and got man of the match, so it was a great performance from him. But you're right, all the players think the world of Paul Rowley. Must be doing something right. He's got a great team spirit there, and he's had some great wins. Apart from the 40-0, the loss against Wigan and Leeds, you could argue Salford were with a shout and probably could have and maybe should have won them games as well. So the Super League forms is really good, and they do punch above their weight, don't they, Salford? And it was a great win on Saturday, and needed really.
And at the heart of it all, Mark Sneed is playing perhaps his career best rugby league.
He is. You need a good general when you're playing rugby league, and he's fantastic. His kicking game is the best in the league, without a doubt. He's got a great rugby league brain, and I agree with you. Playing some fantastic stuff, really directing the boys around the park, and it's down to him. Well, he's played a major part in the way Salford have been going this year. So let's hope it continues.
And rounding off the weekend, Huddersfield expected to win away at London. They obliged and got that win, but I just say it quietly, but Ian Watson looks like he's kind of got things moving in the direction again at Huddersfield. There were times last year where there were a lot of question marks and doubts around him, but seems to just have them kind of on a steady course again.
Yeah, well, that's what you want. I mean, you want the Super League to be as competitive as you want. You want your Huddersfields, your Warringtons, really challenging for your St Helens and Wigans, who are probably another level, as we've mentioned before. So if they can keep going about the business, getting the wins, that breeds confidence, because they've got a fantastic squad. Having played under Ian, I know he's a fantastic coach. So fingers crossed they can keep climbing the ladder and be a force in Super League.
Yeah, that's Easter weekend in the books in the Betfred Super League. And of course, here on the Sportsman on Sunday, we brought you Oldham's win against Rochdale in Betfred League 1. And this weekend, there is international silverware on the line.
Lay down the ball back inside the wall. What a sensational rugby league try that is. The outside, yes. And the super sub is over. Brilliant pace, outstanding skill, and the Dragons are over. Sidesteps, offloads, keeping it alive.
Yes, it's the Wheelchair European Club Challenge, Wigan versus Catalans, and we're delighted to announce that game will be live and exclusive to watch right here on this YouTube channel. We've brought you some absolute belters from the Betfred Wheelchair Super League over the years. Really excited about Wigan versus Catalans at the weekend. And we sat down with Leeds Rhinos head coach James Simpson to find out a little bit more about how the wheelchair game is coached.
The thing about Wheelchair Rugby League is it's not like rugby league where you can buy and sell players and bring people in. It's you, the players you have in your team are the players who really want to be there and they're passionate about being there. So you've got to work with what you've got, and then you build a team around the players. You don't come up with a a specific way of playing and try and force your players to fit that narrative. Is you adapt to how you play on the players you've got, and if that means, yes, you got to move a few people to where they're not used to playing because you think that will be better, then that's what you do.
Right.
Jake Roberts
needs to go all the way.
Lovely ball. Now they will score in the corner.
Really nice.
Norris finishing off a sweeping move. All about the ball from Jake Roberts.
You've only got 5 players, and when you're moving up and you're in your half, your wingers almost become back rowers because you're using them to get you further forward, to get extra metres. But then once you get into good ball and you're in the opposition's half, that's where your wingers kind of become out and out wingers. So you've got to almost train your players to do 2 jobs. So when you're moving up the field, your wingers are coming in, they're taking carries, but less of like a running game kind of winger where it's direct. You need them to be a bit more, get a bit more metres, and then once you get into their half, they'll split. So you need players to be specialised in their roles, but you also need them to be able to switch and adapt and fill in for another role if they want. I think in the past few years, halfbacks have become more of a thing in Wheelchair Rugby League. Before it wasn't really, you just had fast players shooting around, but now you've got people like Tom Halliwell, Deck Roberts, who are genuinely out and out halfbacks, and then you give them the freedom to do what they do and then support them, so you build a bit of a team around the way they're going to play and you direct them how you want them to go.
Oh, big contact from Collins to halt a certain London try.
If you watch a really good defence, you can almost put a rope through them all and they're moving the same, they're all turning the same way at the same time. And one of the big differences is nobody can run over you or push over you. So you get in front of someone, turn your chair, you've stopped them, they can't go through you. But it's doing that together. So when you see a really good defence, you can see them, nobody's looking at each other, but you can see them talking, everyone's turning the chairs the same way, and it's genuinely like artwork to watch a really good defence. And you've got to work as well. As soon as the tackle's made, you've got to get back, you've got to turn, you've got to go again. More so, I think, in Wheelchair, because there's only 5 of you, it can't be a case of, right, well, I'm going to switch out with these players now because I need a bit of a break, so I've defended in this position for 5 sets. You've just got to keep turning up and turning up and getting off there and getting off the line. And big games are won on defence. Like, that's the same in most sports. Like, you need to keep them out, you need to keep them away from your line. But watching a really good defence, watching them talk, watching the players talk, watching how connected they are, it's brilliant to watch. And when I watch video footage back and I can see my team doing it, I'm like, that's brilliant, that's amazing, that's exactly what we want.
Yeah, that game live and exclusive on the Sportsman, the European Club Challenge from the Wheelchair game. Moz, you're of course a World Club Challenge winner, an international. In any form of the sport, it's exciting and it must be a real honour to play in. Oh,
it is. It's huge. I mean, I won the World Cup Challenge representing the Sydney Roosters, and more often than not, I'm cheering on the English team in the World Cup Challenge. But it's absolutely any time you can play in a game which is a final, the silverware at stake, it's huge. It's throughout my career, I played in a number of finals, and the World Cup Challenge is right up there in terms of how proud I was to play in that. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm a massive fan of the wheelchair game from the World Cup. It was that was the highlight for me, watching England do the business over the French. Yeah, plenty of those World Cup stars in action on Saturday. Coverage starts at 5:45. That's the European Club Challenge from the wheelchair game. And of course, the Betfred Super League gets underway, continues to get underway on Thursday with another derby for Wigan. Lee Leopards against the Wigan Warriors. Both teams obviously defeat Easter weekend. Wigan, you'd probably say that they're going to have the energy drained out of them after that battle, but they're such an impressive side. You expect them to get back on the bike pretty quickly. Yeah. Going into this game, you'd say Wigan are favourites, and Lee, the 3 boys who made the dream team last year are not available through injury. So Lee have not got a huge squad anyway. So missing your best players, I think they will struggle a bit against Wigan. Wigan will be open to bounce back to winning ways, and I think it'll be obviously because it's a derby. I think it'll be very spirited from Lee, but I think Wigan will have a little bit too much for the Leopards. Yeah, they're doing it tough at the moment, aren't they, Lee? They had
I don't want to say lucky season, but they had a good season injury-wise last year. They almost seem to be kind of paying that back this year with the bad luck that they've had. It just feels like it's a storm they have to weather, doesn't it? And then they'll be back.
Yeah, unfortunately, rugby league, it's injuries are part and parcel of it, and when you're missing your best players, and as I mentioned, the squad's not huge, it will have an effect. But yeah, they had an incredible year last year. Winning the Challenge Cup was obviously no one saw that coming. So this second year syndrome where teams are a lot more aware of what they can do, and then plus they're missing a few of the top guns. It's going to be tough for a few weeks and months till they get the boys back.
Yep. Friday night, Salford go to the Jungle, go to Castleford, looking to carry on that momentum. Obviously against winless in the Super League, Cass. It does feel like it'll be perhaps trickier than it looks like on paper. You mentioned Cass in that first half.
Yeah.
Had a real crack against Leeds. They'll feel like they made some progress.
Yeah, definitely. I think they'll take a lot of confidence from that first half, in particular against Leeds. Whether they can transfer that into a victory, I'm not too sure, because Salford are going well. That they'll go there full of confidence, but it's a very tough place to go. The Jungle, it's it's got its own issues. The changing rooms and all that kind of thing. But I still think Salford will be have too much for them. I think it'll be close. The corresponding fixture at the AJ Bell was very close, and I think this will be the same, but I think Salford will just get the win.
Also on Friday, London making the trip to Humberside to take on Hull KR. I do think London will turn a side, maybe more sides over at some point this season. Does it happen at Hull KR on Friday night?
I don't think so. Not Hull KR. Just the way Hull KR are going, they're playing with a load of confidence, and quite rightly so. Very tough place to go is Hull KR's home ground. So I can't see London, who are winless, going there and getting the win. But I agree with you. Every time I watch London, even though they've been beat, the effort has been really, really good. It's been fantastic. And I mentioned before, if you get 17 lads putting their all in, one of these days they're going to get the victory. And they was unlucky against Hull FC. But they will get the win, but I can't see it this weekend.
And then also on Friday, time for you to get the half and half scarf out, Moz. Two of your former clubs, Leeds versus Warrington. Fascinating game, this one. Really don't know where this goes.
No, you're right. It's one of the ties of the round, definitely. I just think probably home advantage might just edge it for the Leeds Rhinos, but it really is a fascinating fixture, isn't it? Warrington were looking to bounce back from their loss at home to Catalans the week before, and if we can start talking about Leeds as being playoff hopefuls, that they'll be looking to win it as well. So it's I can't really pick this one. I'll have to flip a coin on this one, Lewis.
Hull FC Huddersfield on Saturday. Huddersfield, as we mentioned, just quietly building a little bit of momentum. Obviously played each other a few weeks ago. Hull FC, I suppose at some point they'll feel like they are going to bounce and start putting some performances together. This would be a pretty good time to start.
It would be a great time, but I just can't see it though. You mentioned before they did play each other quite recently, and it was quite a big scoreline to the Giants. So I think that'll have an effect when you're playing against a team and you've been beat quite heavily. On the flip side, the other team knows they've beat them quite convincingly. It does have a psychological effect, and I think confidence is really low at Hull FC. Obviously, a few injuries, and you mentioned before Huddersfield just going about the business, and I think it'll be a workmanlike performance. I think they'll get the victory.
And then rounding off the weekend, what a game this is going to be! Catalans versus St Helens. We spoke about Wigan picking themselves up from that defeat to St Helens. Saints were in such a firefight for 80 minutes in that game. You feel like they're going to have a little bit of picking up to do as well, and that's a real test for them.
It is, it's tough enough. We've spoke about many times the travel to the south of France and what it takes out of you, and obviously you've got to play the Catalans once you do get there. But this is definitely the round of the tie of the round, definitely. But it's tough. It would have took so much out of the Saints boys emotionally and physically against Wigan, but they need to bounce back and get back on the horse. But I just think I think Catalans will have just a little bit too much for Saints at home. But you can't write the Saints off. They're a champion side, aren't they? So it's going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that one. Out of all the fixtures, I'm looking forward to that one out the most. But I think Catalan's just sneak it.
Yeah, 6 really interesting games again in the Betfred Super League. Moz, absolute pleasure as ever to have you in the studio. Make sure you join us on Saturday. You don't want to miss this one. 5:45 coverage starts. The European Club Challenge. Wigan Warriors against the Catalan Dragons. The Super League champions, of course, against the reigning Betfred Challenge Cup holders. Should be an absolute cracker. Make sure you join us for that one. And we'll be with you next week, of course, for more from The Last Tackle.